I've been doing this for a long time, and this is an amazing story. It is a success story that I think Rachel and Marco will tell you. It is a unique story. My group and I have delivered 127 sets of quadruplets, most of them here at Banner University, and that's probably 4 times what any other practice in the world has done. So we have seen more and taken care of more patients with this kind of pregnancy than anyone else. And given that, I've never seen anything that has happened to Rachel and to Marco. The reason it's so special, number one, is that most high-order multiple pregnancies are conceived via reproductive technologies, infertility doctors, and embryo transfer. And very, very, very few are conceived naturally. I don't think anybody would want to conceive spontaneous quadruplets. You're given that by God, and then you deal with it. But if you just look at spontaneous quadruplets, not necessarily identical, that happens 1 in 750,000 pregnancies. So in the United States, basically in a year with approximately 4 million births, you'd have about 5 spontaneous quadruplets. You then say, but they're identical. And that really takes it into a whole new stratosphere. To have identical quadruplets as opposed to 4 separate individuals puts it at about 1 in 11 million chance that would happen. Then Rachel went a little bit further, and her spontaneous quadruplets, they started with 1 embryo, and that embryo between day 4 and day 8 of life split into 3, and they would share a placenta. And then one of the babies decided it wanted another sister, and it split somewhere day 9 to day 13 of life. And so those 2 babies were now in the same sac. So it's safer to have your own apartment, if you will, than to share an apartment with your sister. So babies A and B were what we call monochorionic, monoamniotic siblings. So they had 1 placenta, which the 4 of them shared, and they had 1 sac, which the 2 of them shared. That puts extra risk to those babies because they can have cord entanglement. The babies tumble and turn and twist themselves, and their cords become entangled in knots, and they end up tightening the knot, and unfortunately 1 or both of the babies can pass away. So this was what Rachel and Marco were dealing with. That puts it probably at 1 in 30 to 40 million chance. That's an estimate. It's not hard and fast, but that's about the chance that this particular pregnancy would occur. Then she and Marco can tell their story of what happens after she got pregnant. But to give you that background, just how amazing this is, how rare it is, and what they went through. It's a true story of just human perseverance, and I'm just very in awe of both of them. So I'll shut up and let you guys go.
Rachel, Marco, Dominique with Fox 10. So you both are coming from out of state, Rhode Island, correct? The decision to come to Phoenix, why, how did that all come about? And actually, first off, do twins run in your family too? Can you answer that?
No, they don't run at all. And there's no, I don't think there's any evidence that this sort of identical upbringing has a hereditary component. But no, so we have no experience, no one in the family on either side. Fraternal twins can sometimes have, dual ovulation twice during a cycle, but that's not this case, and we don't know why this happens, but there's no history of that in our background. Do you want to field how we came to, since you were the one who
Sure.
did the initial outreach?
So
You might want to pull the mics closer to you.
Sure.
Good, okay.
So how we got here is that at a certain point, 2 of our girls were diagnosed with twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome. And when we were back where we had been with our original doctor, they had been sort of saying that there wasn't much to be done about this syndrome in such a complicated pregnancy if it did occur. So I did what you do if you're a millennial parent and you're confused, you go on Reddit. And I went on Reddit and I said, is there anything to be done about this twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome? And the good people of Reddit all mentioned this twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome foundation. It was all over the place. Oh, Mary Slayman and the twin-to-twin foundation. So I said, okay, I've got to give these folks a call. So I called up this TTTS foundation and explained that there were really 4 babies, and it was 2 of them that they thought had this syndrome. And I said, do you know of any resources or anything I can do, to try and help the girls? And so she, this woman who runs this foundation, Mary Slayman, she pointed me to Dr. Elliott, because I believe you've been on her board for a long time.
Yes.
And so she said Dr. Elliott would know maybe what to tell you about this, and also she, hearing that I had this high order multiples pregnancy, she knew that Dr. Elliott was this extreme expert in the high order multiples, and she said perhaps you should really get in touch with him. And so that's really how we came to Banner, through the care of Dr. Elliott.
As a couple, what was your initial reaction when you heard that you were having 4 daughters?
Well, I about fell over in the ultrasound. The pregnancy had been confirmed with the blood test, and I went to my first ultrasound, and the woman running the ultrasound machine, the sonographer, she was really quiet. And I thought, and I didn't really know what I was looking at up on the screen, and so she was really quiet, and I thought, okay, this nice lady is gearing up to tell me that this baby has a heart defect, right? And so she put her hand on my shoulder, and she said, I have to tell you something. And then she said, right now, there are 4 of them. And I didn't know what to say. I was just shocked. So then she held my hand and walked me over to the doctor, and then she had this sort of semi-whispered conversation with the doctor that everyone was really listening to. And so that's how I found out. And I don't know, maybe you can speak to how you felt when I came home.
Yeah. So I was sitting at home working, and Rachel comes to the door, and she's sobbing. She's really nervous. She's really scared. So I go up to her, I put my arm around her, and I asked her what had happened. I thought that my initial reaction was that perhaps one of the baby had expired, or there was something, seriously wrong. And I tried to get it out of her, and she was sobbing, and then she said, in sobs, there are 4 babies. And my initial reaction, I guess, I was shocked. My tendency, our yin and yang tend to complement each other, as one of the nurse administrators here mentioned. So I just tend to just go numb and just focus on kind of tunnel vision on what I need to do. Okay, we have a serious situation here. I've got to just buckle down and just start doing. I've got to do. I need to stand nice and firm. She's definitely in crisis. She needs to lean on me, and I just have to figure out. That's how I cope with things. I figure, what do I need to do? And if there's nothing to do, I'll just go wash the dishes or something. Put something in order. So that's my little
that's
panic
what you
response.
did. Yeah.
That's what I did. Did I wash the dishes?
I think you did something like that.
Probably, yeah.
Which is not bad.
No.
As a husband, pros appreciate it. Dr. Elliott, for you, delivery day, leading up to that, what's going through your head as a physician? What's kind of, I'm sure you guys lay out worst case scenarios, best thing. What's that day like? And everyone else in your team?
The actual day of delivery is an amazing celebration. It's the culmination of everything that they have gone through. It's going to be one of the most exciting days in their life, and certainly my life, and my two residents over here that got to participate in the delivery. There were a lot of complications that got us from 21 weeks to 30 and a half weeks. We were shooting for 32 weeks. Usually with quadruplets, we would shoot for 34 weeks to do the delivery. But with the two babies in the one sack, we would move it up a little bit so that if we didn't want them to do something bad to each other. So our goal was 32 weeks, and to be very honest, and I really didn't think we were going to get close. But through everything, we were able to overcome the complications. And on that day, it was joyous. It was so efficient. Our staff here and everybody. They've been there, done that, and it went so smoothly. One of the babies had a heart problem, and we were worried about that baby, and so the nursery had to accommodate the baby that had the heart problem, and so, but everybody worked as a great team, and I smiled. I was behind my mask. I smiled through the whole case. So for me, it was just pure joy.
I think I have to ask, how are you?
Yeah, for sure. Doing well, all things considered. The nurses here are really fantastic. So I didn't know what to expect after a C-section because my other babies were just natural births. But the nurses here really help you, after the procedure, start getting up and doing as much as possible pretty quickly. They had me walking around the nurses' station the next day. And we're really thankful to the care that we got here, and we really want to mention it. We feel like everyone, every step of the way, if there were times when we were confused or didn't understand quite why something was going on, or there were things happening with the babies that we needed explained, we just felt like all the doctors here from the Valley Perinatal Clinic and all the residents just always answered unbelievable amounts of questions from us, and didn't seem to get impatient with us. And then in the aftermath, were so great at helping us sort of come off of that and helping me recover, and we're really very, very thankful that we ended up here, and we'd like to highlight that.
How many kids do you have now?
We have two toddlers.
Right. So I have two grown sons from my first marriage, from my youth. And from this marriage, we have a 3 and, 3.25-year-old, a
Yeah,
3-year-old
3.
boy, Walter, a 1.5-year-old daughter, Stella, and now we have 6 altogether at home. So
we'll be busy.
we'll be busy.
You got some babysitters.
Absolutely, absolutely. Seren, it's from overnight, the family kind of pretty much doubled in size.
Yeah, for sure.
Can you name the girls, and if you remember, like, who was born first? If you do, I think this was probably a whirlwind.
Sure. So our first of the quadruplets, the first girl was Sophia. She was born first. And then the second one is Philomena. They were the ones that Dr. Elliott had been talking about who are in the same sack. And then after Philomena is Veronica, and then after Veronica is Isabel. And those are the girls.
Any story behind those names? Or you just need to think of a lot of names?
Yeah.
No, they were saints' names. We're Catholic, so it's a tradition to name our children after, someone who's been known for their heroic piety or virtue, and you hope that that person will try to imbibe, try to take those lessons, and just give the person an auspicious name, and hope that they'll be able to practice those virtues, and hopefully that saint will be looking kindly on showering blessings on that person, and that's our custom. So we thought about it. We threw names back and forth. The middle names, we're looking at family, female relatives of the family that we'd like to honor. Both of us have done that, so we're working on that right now.
How are the babies doing? We know that one has a heart issue. Overall, how are they doing, all four of them?
So they're doing fairly well, particularly considering their how early they were delivered, and the fact that they're quadruplets that were sharing a restricted amount of access to blood flow. Generally, from what I understand, quadruplets in this sort of situation will tend to be smaller than a singleton would be. And we were fully expecting that. So if you deliver a child at 28 weeks, you might expect maybe 26, 25
Yeah.
easily, worth of, the equivalent of 25 weeks, let's say, just rough figure of gestational size and development. It's a good proxy for internal development. But the girls were born at fairly healthy weights, roughly what you would expect for a singleton, which makes this whole, they had some anomalies with the, of the placenta as well.
With the cords, yeah.
There was the cords, the filamentous cord insertion, and you wouldn't have expected them to get as much blood flow as they did. But they really thrived under Dr. Elliott's care, under the nurse's care, and they are much bigger and more well-developed and healthier than we could have ever expected. It's been a really happy ending.
What's it like to hold them for the first time?
Oh. The other day I got to hold Philomena for the first time. So right now they're under these bilirubin lights. So when they come off the light, or if it's okay for them to be out for a while, then you can hold them. So I got to hold Philomena for the first time the other day, the second girl who came out. And it was just one of the best moments of my life. It sort of felt like she should have never left me. And it, anyone who's a parent, you can never express how it feels to hold your child for the first time, but it felt particularly wonderful because I had not been able to hold her yet. So it was wonderful.
For how long were they in the NICU after labor?
How long were they, or?
Yeah. How long were you separated from Philomena, for instance?
Oh, well, we're allowed to go see them all the time, but until we got to hold her, perhaps a few days, 3 days.
Yeah, and that was mostly because we were just, Rachel was just recovering and she wasn't really available to be able to do it. But they really do encourage kangaroo care. They have all sorts of methods that they use to encourage the parents to start skin-to-skin care and reassure the babies. I was allowed shortly after, since I was, fine and dandy, of course. I got the easy part of this. I was encouraged by the nurses to go straight down there and start assisting in their care routine. So I got to lift the baby up, took a little picture of that. I got to hold one of the babies and lift her up as they changed the sheets underneath and cradle her a little bit, talk to her, put my hands on her, just shortly after birth. They've been very, very good about helping us ease into, caring for the girls. So we've been participating in their care routines, changing diapers in the incubator. They've been fantastic.
How long have you been on this journey here at Manor?
Oh, we've been here since I was 21 weeks pregnant. It was before Thanksgiving, and we were outpatient for a few weeks, and then we became inpatient at 23 weeks when I came in with some preterm labor. So I've been in the hospital since 23 weeks pregnant.
And I'd also like to mention, it's probably worth mentioning, during that time we came here, fully expecting, given the gravity of the situation at the time, to be hospitalized. As Rachel alluded to, we were Rachel was stabilized fairly quickly, and we were allowed to be outpatient for a while. And one of Dr. Elliott's nurses arranged for the Ronald McDonald House. We were scrambling around for an Airbnb, trying to figure out, okay, I'm going to rent an apartment or something, I guess. Looking around the city, I don't know what neighborhood to be in, proximity, public transportation, trying to rent a car, a lot of things we were juggling at the time while my wife was a delicate state. So And the Ronald McDonald House folks were able to take us in, and we had a really wonderful opportunity to meet with other parents there who were going through similar situations. Commiserate, to be able to share our stories, and even if you can't necessarily, so we were able to offer each other some actual practical help, but more than anything was just having the place where we had a really comforting place where we could break bread together and just offer a shoulder to each other, be a shoulder, receive comfort, and just unload with other parents who are going through things. It's phenomenal work that they do at the Ronald McDonald House charities. As kids, I think we'd always go grab lunch, put a little extra change in there, a couple of bucks, $7 something of hamburger and shake. Back in my day, you put the rest, bring them a 10, the rest goes into the box. You never thought anything of it. And behold, there's this wonderful place where parents who are struggling with ill children and really shouldn't have to worry about logistics, don't have to.
You,
As far as- I was just to say, next steps, I know baby's health and everything, mom's health, but when, do you have an approximate date when you can head home, or is it doctor's clearance? How does that work?
Usually the babies, when they're in the NICU, they get to depending on obviously extenuating circumstances, but usually around 36 to 37 weeks of age. So the girls were born at 30 and a half weeks a week ago. So we're kind of like 31 and a half weeks now. So probably a little over a month, and they'll be ready to go home.
You know, a lot of numbers have been thrown around, a lot of odds, beating the odds here, these odds and whatnot. Do you, are you planning on getting a lottery ticket?
I actually did do that. I remember walking around somewhere in, was that outside of MGH that we were walking around somewhere in the area?
I don't remember.
I remember walking around for just some sort of routine appointment, and just on a lark, I said, what are the odds? And I thought to myself, what are the odds? And I went and I played, and let this be a lesson. There's a reason why they, well, yeah, obviously we didn't win, but I did win the lottery. I really did.
That's sweet.
Do you have any advice for other parents who are maybe going through something similar?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, we'd really like other parents to know that it's perfectly okay to get a second opinion about something, especially if it's something very rare, very complicated. Ultimately, you are your child's protector and advocate, and for you to get a second opinion or try out a new outlook for whatever it is you're dealing with, complications with your pregnancy, it's perfectly all right to go and seek another opinion for whatever it is. We're certainly glad that we did.
Yeah, I'd add to that, for parents who are in a similar situation as us, the TTTS Foundation was where we started.
Mm-hmm.
They were an excellent resource. They were very kind and caring. Late night conversations, soothing Rachel on the phone, reassuring her, telling her where she could go, arranging for connections. And if you find yourself in this sort of situation out here, there are at Banner, Dr. Elliott, there are some fantastic folks really pushing the limits of like what's possible in maternal fetal medicine. And don't be afraid to ask questions, do some research, reach out. There are lots of very, 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 very well-disposed, very capable, caring, compassionate people who make it their lives work to just save babies. So reach out. There are folks out here. They helped us. We had a happy ending, the best one we could hope for. And thank God for this man here.
Any more kids in the future, or you done?
We would be open to more once it's safe for, once it's all right to do so, certainly. Yeah.
What now, right? It's, you have your own basketball team, but on a more serious note, what dreams have you already started forming for these 4 little girls?
Oh, well, we just imagine taking them home and playing in the grass with them, with our other children, just taking them home and being a normal family again. That's my
Yeah.
main dream.
Yeah, we purchased a little home, and yeah, we'd like to get to know them, spend a lot of time with them. We're going to take it, one day at a time. It depends on what their personalities are. We're already discovering that they have very distinct personalities already, and I think it's our job as parents to try and figure out, what they're attuned to, what they're capable, what they're attuned to, what they're capable of, what they want to do. So it's our job to facilitate that as they grow up, help them, grow in virtue and in, self fulfillment. So we are looking forward to a lot of cuddle time with these girls and seeing what it is that they want to do, spending the next couple of decades just helping them grow up into beautiful little girls.
And the 3-year-old, how is he reacting to the fact that he has now 5 little sisters? Is he aware of what's going on?
He is. She will be Stella.
He is. So his younger sister, a 1.5-year-old, her name is Stella. So he knows that Stella's a girl, and he knows that these babies are girls. So he says that they will be Stella, and he knows that they're going to come home, and he thinks that they will live with Stella. And he says he knows that the babies were born the other day, and he says that they can play with his trains. And that's his prized possession, so that's a very nice concession from him. So we'll see if it holds.
Would you be able to compare this pregnancy to the other ones in the past?
Oh, they were completely different. My other pregnancies were normal singleton babies, and you go to the OB every so often, and they do the ultrasound, and they say, baby looks good, don't eat too much ice cream. And you come back, and they say, just don't eat too many potato chips. And then you have the baby, and you take the baby home. So this was nothing like previous pregnancies at all. I felt nauseous a little earlier, tired earlier. Wasn't able to walk much before Halloween sometime. So it was just a completely different experience. I wouldn't really compare the two much at all.
No, it had a lot. There were a lot of logistical challenges. You mentioned a lot of the pregnancy. She had to spend it horizontal, laying down because of the pressure of the babies on top of each other, on top of internal organs. So it's been very difficult. She's been a trooper throughout all of it. I think that just several months inside a room without and just spending even more months just completely horizontal, not being able to do half of the things that you were accustomed to doing that was an immense feat of of just like mental strength to be able to
All right.
to do all that.
Now that you had a chance babies are born, you've had a chance to kind of think back on this journey you've been on. How would you sum it up as the way this journey's come to fruition?
Well, I would just say we're thrilled. We knew from the first day that it would be a very risky pregnancy. We knew from the first day that it was entirely plausible that not all the girls might make it. And we understood those risks initially, and we understood them as we came to Dr. Elliott. And so to have 4 girls in front of us, 4 of our beautiful children in front of us, it's something that many times we certainly hoped for, but maybe at times knew we might not expect. So in a lot of ways, we feel more blessed than we ever expected to be.
Do you mind telling them apart? You mentioned the different personalities. I mean, week-old babies, probably not, but...
Well, they are identical twins, identical quadruplets. But again, it's their personalities that really stand out. Now, we do have aides, their names are written on the whiteboard, so perhaps you're cheating. But, you do get to know your children really intimately over time. You can see them coming from a mile away, wouldn't you say?
For sure.
So little by little, as they, assert themselves, they start to become who they really are, we'll get to know them better. But there are, little personality traits that we're starting to notice already. And but thank God they look fairly, they look pretty much the same.
The ones that are the same size look pretty much the same.
Yeah. We
We're
fig-
thinking of painting some different toenails
A different
so we
color.
don't mix anyone up.
That's our strategy for now, at least. If
Yes.
you have any suggestions, feel free to drop them in the comments below. We're open to suggestions.
Doctor, why do you keep using the phrase spontaneous pregnancy? I'm just not familiar with that phrasing.
I mean, there's kind of two ways to get pregnant. One is kind of the old-fashioned way, and then the other is with reproductive technology for those that just aren't able to conceive. Most high-order multiples are due to the reproductive technologies. To get pregnant without that kind of assistance is obviously the way it's been done from the beginning, and so it's kind of differentiating a spontaneous event from a event that is more common is the differentiation with that spontaneous pregnancy.
For the doctor, how many nurses, residents, and more medical professionals were involved in the pregnancy, and what's average?
Average, you don't need all of the people that were available. It's usually very limited, one nurse and the patient and the doctor, and that's sort of the routine kind of thing. With this kind of a delivery, we had two wonderful residents and myself doing the surgery. There were two anesthesiologists. There were probably 6 or 7 nurses in the room, and then we had the neonatal team in which they have 3 individuals, a doctor and a nurse practitioner and a nurse for each of the babies. So there's 12 more, and I've lost count of where we are at this point in time. And we, of course, had Marco and Rachel, so they were part of the team. So it's a big production, as you might imagine, and everybody has a role. And the fact that we've been able to do this as often as we have gives us the ability to do it well without a lot of wasted motion, and so it was very efficient. I'll just put it that way.
And then for the babies that are still in the NICU, you said that about a month longer?
Probably a little over a month, yes.
And what's average for a baby to be in the NICU?
Well, again, if you were born at let's say at 34 weeks, they might be there for 3 weeks. If you're born at 30 weeks, they'll be there for 7 weeks. If you're born at 25 weeks, they'll be there for 12 weeks. So it's the age of the baby that they attain the ability to leave the NICU and be able to control their temperature and respirations and eat and do the things that babies are supposed to do. So it just depends on when they're born, how long they'll spend in the NICU.
And is Phoenix home now? Did you guys make the move? Or?
We did not. We're pretty tethered back home because we have, obviously I have my job and we have grandparents. We're really excited to see these kids and great grandparents for whom I think your grandparents, their great grandparents have said that seeing them, our toddlers, is really the highlight of their week. So.
But tell them what you told me.
Absolutely. I mean, and Rachel and I were pretty unanimous. We came out here and we were just surprised by just how incredibly cheerful and helpful and positive everyone has been out here. We were really taken back by the hospitality, the professionalism, just the good disposition on the part of everyone. And I'm talking about everyone. I've said this to several people. Everyone from the Uber drivers that we met as soon as we got off out of the airport, all the way up to the doctors. Everyone has just been a fantastic professional who seems to be enjoying what they're doing, and they're always happy to chat with you, to have, just the human component has just been really helpful during a very difficult and scary time. So developing, we feel like when we left the antepartum wing yesterday, it was like we were leaving our little village. I mean, all the nurses, all the folks in the cafeteria, everyone, we've just broken bread together, we've spent time together, we've chatted, we've shared our stories, they've consoled us, we've laughed together. It feels like we've grown a family here. And that's really rare. There's something very special going on here. Dr. Elliott, Dr. Strong, they'd come into the room, we'd share jokes, and while working through the bedside manner and the human touch has just been so helpful during a very uncertain and very difficult and very scary time. Just feeling the love from everyone here has just been very edifying, and we're really touched. And I'd be lying if I were to say we haven't thought about it. How could we move here? How could we wind up here just to experience get a little more of this love? We've made not just friends, it's like an extended family. It's an extended family that we've developed here, and we're really grateful to everyone here in Phoenix. We've got a little home away from home, and we're very grateful.
Could I ask, what do you do for a living?
I'm a software developer.
Did we get your last name?
Vargas, Vargas.
And can you spell both your first name for us?
Sure.
My name is Rachel, Rachel.
And I'm Marco, Marco, like Marco Polo, just not as well traveled. Well, I guess now I'm pretty well traveled.
I'm sure you guys will stay in touch, but any final messages to Dr. Elliott you guys want to share?
Thank you. I mean, during a very difficult, very, very difficult time, it was a very dark and scary and difficult time, and we reached out to you, and you consoled us, you walked us through the process, you helped us to be able to discern what was possible. We were able to look at things objectively, and at a time when we were just overwhelmed with emotion and fear. And you took the time. We weren't your patients yet. You took our calls. You called us back over and over and over, and helped to walk us through a very difficult time, and helped us to make a really reasoned and good decision about the next steps, how we could best care for our girls. And complete strangers, you were willing to have us come up from across the country to come to see you, and you didn't give us any false hopes or promises, but a rather reasoned expectation of what might be possible. But you encouraged us to swing for the fences, to try and do something that was really at the edge of what we thought was possible. It was in keeping with that really pioneering American spirit of saying, let's swing for the fences, let's throw that Hail Mary pass, let's see what we can do. And you put the wind into our sails, and we are so grateful that for all the work that you do. You're an amazing humanitarian. Never mind, you're dead.
Thank you, Marco.
Rachel.
Yeah, I'd just like to say, we're so grateful to everyone here, Dr. Elliott, Dr. Strong, Dr. Miller, the residents who we saw just day in and day out, constantly wrestling with the babies on the fetal monitor, which was not always easy, and the nurses. And, we really feel like all these people who we were so lucky to meet here, the fantastic thing about them is they're doing their jobs as they always do them, which is incredible to me, that they do this on such long shifts and constantly and all the time. I always felt like these people never slept. But also, for them, they do this every day. And for us and other people like us, we get to take home our 4 girls who are now our family. And that'll be the rest of our life. And we're so grateful to have them. So we would like to say thank you very much.